Hello, somebodies. We are
The Nobodies.
What are we doing here today?
Today we are talking to the great Rob Noxious of the band Killcode and his side project, My World. How are you today, buddy?
I'm great, guys. It's great to see you. Thanks for having me. Love the show. I love how it has evolved, and I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. We got so much to talk to you about today. We love your band. We've actually seen you live, multiple times. So
yeah, I know. I think you did a show, didn't you? Like getting on the train, the whole experience.
Yeah.
Our ballroom. Yeah, that was, dude. I remember all that, and that was really great. We thank you for all the support. And
God, that was like one of the first videos on our channel too. That was probably like a year after we started.
That was way back. Yeah.
And time flies, so that was probably several years.
A whole pandemic. A little crazy.
Yeah, before the pandemic,
All right, so let's get started. So when did the band Killcode get started, and who was the founder? And tell us the progress on how you got all the members.
I was living in, I grew up on Long Island, and I moved to LA when I was like 18 to go to the Musicians Institute. PIT, Percussion Institute of Technology. So honestly, though I'm from here, I was out there from 18 till about, 30 something years old. Killcode got started. I can look at it this way. MySpace was the thing. There was no Facebook yet. Okay. So like, as far as setting a setting and time, like it was MySpace. And I don't know how much you remember of MySpace, but make a long story short, Tommy, the singer, and Chaz, the guitar player, had played together briefly in another band Chaz had that was signed to Atlantic Records. They toured the world and they made an album, but something happened and that band fell apart very quickly while Tommy got involved. Not that he had anything to do with it, but although the band may have been old to Chaz, it was like their relationship was brand new. So I guess the story goes, those guys wanted to still work together or at least try. They went to Chaz's studio. Chaz wrote a couple of guitar licks and they came up with 2 or 3 songs, which becomes basically not really a demo yet, but a template of how they're going to audition guys and this, that, sort of thing. So they knew Eric Bonesmith very well, and they figured they want him in the band if he wants to do it. And he did. So then enters me. So back to the MySpace thing. I don't know if you guys, Ray, you may, Mistress Julia, she was on Fuse TV a lot. And back in the day when like Jackass was kicking ass and stuff, she would do a lot of interviews on VH1 and MTV on the weekends at night that she was interviewing all the big rock stars. And she's super cool. So she had a big following. And to be quite honest with you, when I first moved back here, I always need to not only for money, but just for my wits, I like to get involved in cover bands that work I don't want to rehearse, but I do want to go out and play, and it helps me immensely. Ironically, I need that, and I also need original music. I need to create. So immediately all I remember was Mrs. Julia posted what was called a bulletin on MySpace. And it was about, they didn't even have a band's name because they didn't have a name. It was, and I don't know these people from a hole in the wall, but apparently I can tell by the reaction that they had some New York City footing. And it was just like something simple like, hey, if you want to get out and play some really cool shows and big venues in the city and see a lot of boobs, answer this ad, they need a drummer. So make a long story short, that week I answered the ad. They sent me 2 songs, which are the songs, like I said, on a demo with a drum machine behind them, and was told to just learn them, come down this night. So that same week I went and auditioned for this like big crazy horn section, like cover band, and like the night after I had a Killcode audition.
Nice.
Not that they were a Killcode yet, but they were, and it just gelled right away. So at that point, it's me, Chaz, Tommy, and Eric Bonesmith. And whatever I did on those, I made up whatever I wanted to and came in and auditioned. Honestly, I could tell you 2 of those songs are on our first EP, and the drums never changed from the first audition. Like exactly what winds up on, which by the way, we recorded probably 3 weeks later.
Wow.
We moved very quickly. So that's how that unit got formed. And then, I had always said to myself, I didn't really, not that I don't love metal or whatever, but like it wasn't working in the industry, and there was no real new successful bands that had 2 guitar players. And I was like, I don't ever want to play with 2 guitar players again. Like it makes no sense. But they start telling me that they know this guy. He's on a break because of his wife, not his wife, his singer is pregnant, and they're taking a hiatus. Maybe we can get him to come down. He's a lefty. He'll look great in all the pictures, and he's got red hair. And I'm just like, I don't want to play with any 2 guitar players. That's all I kept saying. So now I'm like, let's see how this goes. And in walked a guy named Pat Harrington, who's no longer with us in this band anymore either. But like, he was a big intricate part of me wanting to stay, and certainly a big intricate part of the foundation of Killcode. And that's how it all started. When Pat wound up wanting to do different things, we were fortunate to get DC Gonzalez on guitar, who, his band Pans was making a big scene in the city, and we were good friends with them. But ironically, they had singer issues and they were down. So it's all timing. But that's how that all started.
All right. Perfect. Good answer.
So on that note, tell us about how you got into My World. What was the process behind you starting that band?
Well, that's a good question, and thank you for asking. So My World, these 2 guys are like savants. They do a lot of, they've done a lot of film scoring and stuff like that. Their music is on so many, you've heard them. They're everywhere. And I don't have time to really get into their whole thing, but Chris, the guitar player, he's actually been the music director for several TV stations. So he's footed in that world. They all just wanted to, so they got a lot of music that they throw out into these things, but they've accumulated along the way enough songs for like 2 EPs that they went ahead and did. And these are songs and stuff that really just wasn't picked up. But so it goes from like, a Bugs Bunny sounding song to like a complete heavy metal, death metal song. It doesn't matter. With those guys, they're more alternative. They're like prog. But the way I got into them was one of the cover bands I was working with this amazing singer, Amanda, knew John Montalbano, the bass player, very well. And he wasn't working with us at what we were doing, but he would come in and fill in. And that's how I met him. And so we started doing like this one-off Alanis Morissette thing where they were going to do the whole Jagged Little Pill. And John came in as a sub on it. And I was kind of just barking out the math in certain situations, how to get through. Because let's face it, he's an amazing player, but he didn't have a lot of time. And that's a pretty intricate record if you really want to get into it. So I was counting off numbers and this, whatever. And at the end of the night, he was just like, man, I got this crazy band that's really not easy to do, but like, from what I just saw in there, like you could do it. Like, would you be interested? I said, you know what I'm doing with Killcode or whatever. And then I started to know more about them and so it's kind of a great thing because, it helps in the publishing world because they still get a lot of that. And their main thing was they got a lot of recognition doing all that type of stuff, but they just want to play like everybody else. They want to entertain. So with me, that could, they could actually, they've had several drummers that come in and out. They just kind of wanted to, knowing that I can't really do it completely full time either. That's what they chose to do. So that's how that started. That was probably a good 6-7 years ago.
Wow, it's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
just check out My World on all the, My World band everywhere on online.
All right, we will. So what are some of your biggest influences, and does it show in the music you play?
Haha. I could talk about this for ever. And
we only have 40 minutes.
I know, so I always tell everybody, even just to start with lists of drummers of influences, and that's not the way I take this question. I'm going to honestly say where it winds up, like 2 of my biggest inspirations is Jane's Addiction and a band called Our Lady Peace up in Canada. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Rush, I love Zeppelin, I have all the Who, all that shit's in my heart. But I find these two bands in the last 20, 30 years to just be extraordinary and changing the music industry. Their drummers, I steal everything they do. Now,
Okay.
Jane's Addiction's pretty damn popular, but most people don't know their main repertoire. You know what I mean? They know the big part stealings and whatever.
The radio stuff, yeah.
I get away with stealing all Stephen Perkins stuff all the time because nobody's really heard it. And the same with the drummer from this band, Our Lady Peace, which, by the way, you need to check out. They're amazing. So this guy, Jeremy, in Our Lady Peace is just like one of the best drummers I've ever heard. I love the guy from Smashing Pumpkins. Obviously, I was a huge Neil Peart fan. Like I said, if I started from the beginning, Peter Criss is the reason I play drums. When I was in second grade, I was taking drums and guitar, and both my teachers basically were like, you really should, not that you shouldn't do both, but you should really pick one because you could probably really excel at one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose drums after a really hard decision based on the fact I thought Peter was the coolest guy in Kiss.
Yeah, he is. He kind of is, yeah.
In the 70s, nobody knew what they looked like or anything. Catman was the guy, so that was the end of that story. So I'm a drummer now.
So many people are influenced by Kiss.
Yeah, a lot
so
of
many.
So you have you didn't mention one of my favorite drummers of all time, Ray Luzier.
Probably because okay, so Ray Luzier. Wow. Okay, go ahead.
I've seen Korn 18 times, and I met you at a Korn concert.
That's right.
Yes, we were sitting in the bar. Yeah, there you go. We were sitting at a bar having a beer, and I just happened to talk to you, and you were telling us about Killcode, and you mentioned that you know Ray very well, and not for nothing, but he's an amazing drummer too. So do you?
Dude, he's like from another world. So that was cool. By the way, was great. I was explaining before we started. That was a great night. It was really cool to meet you. Just a down-to-earth fan out across the street. Nobody knows who the hell I am. Nobody knows who you are. And that was just a good time. I remember I had one of my good buddies with me. And so I know Ray. Now, it's weird because I know Ray so well. Is he an influence of mine? You have no idea, and I'll get into that. But, can I even attempt to play half the shit the guy plays? No.
He's phenomenal.
So
I love him more because he's just so down to earth, and you could talk to him, and he can explain that shit in a way that you don't he simplifies it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's hard physically.
Oh, of course.
So when I brought it up earlier. When I was 18, I moved to instead of going to a regular college and becoming getting a music degree to be a teacher, I wound up going to that Hollywood to the school in Hollywood Musicians Institute. Now Ray was I think he's a year younger than me. So if I was 19, Ray was only 18, and he came from the sticks out by Pittsburgh somewhere in Pennsylvania, drove his van out. So when you're in this school, you have classes, but there's a lot of jamming going on, and you have drum labs, and you share drum labs with 6 people. You have 3 lockers, 2 people share them, and if it was us 3, we would just schedule, talk to each other. And what day, what nights, what hours do you want to practice, and blah blah blah. Ray was one of my drum lab partners, just by choice. You don't know who your roommate's going to be. Maybe when you go away to college, you get paired up with somebody. One of them's Ray Luzier. And we're little kids, and we're frightened. We're living in Hollywood. There's helicopters. There's gunshots. We don't know what the hell's going on. We're just here to learn, So make a long story short, I was very well read because I was doing marching music and stuff from when I was young, really, really young age. And Ray scared the hell out of you because right away, I'm this great drummer back at home, but Ray knows how to hit the drums, and Ray knows, even at 18, it was obvious this guy knows how to beat the shit out of a drum set, scare you into fucking loving what he's doing. Excuse my language.
No.
That's what I learned right away. So we would piggyback because we would get the tests beforehand, and all you really had to do was just show up and punch in, and you would graduate as long as you passed your test. They would give you the information on the test, and I would sit with Ray, and we would talk about because I knew how to read the crap. And then I would just watch him do his live performances and watch how he's how he's hitting a drum as opposed to how I'm hitting a drum. Getting the rim in there. just like hit you right in the back of the neck as opposed to just tapping on a snare drum. So we just fed off each other. And look, it's only a year school, but we stayed in touch. I had a drumstick company for a while. We had lost touch, but I rekindled it when I bumped into him at NAMM shows out in Anaheim when I was like working on my drumstick company. And he was playing with David Lee Roth at the time. And since then, we've been in touch ever since.
So tell us something in your life, whether it was a tour, on tour or something in the music industry that inspired you. So if somebody said something to you, or is something that happened to you that like you carry with you today.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I've been through a lot of stuff. When I was a little kid, like I said, I moved away from home and I lived on my own in Hollywood. I've played in a million different bands. I've been in vans and toured and this. I've played in big shows. I've had no money. I'm an artist. I starved to do what I'm doing now. I feel very blessed. Like even right now, we got a new album coming out. I remember like coming up with in another band or whatever, like doing a demo, and you just want people to listen to it, right? But like people are actually waiting to listen to it, so that's kind of cool. But I think one thing that I learned around it's pretty simple thing actually, and it has nothing to really do with music. It has to just do with being a human. If you want 1 million fans, you should shake 1 million hands. And that's what we try to do. And it's not just like a phony handshake. Like we try to get to know everybody we can. Because once you do, then the bond becomes. And believe it, I watched it like in Mexico City, like when we played down there. They don't know who the hell we are. We got really lucky to get thrown in front of this huge crowd. But we would rush over to our merch booth right when we would be finished playing, always, and start looking around like nobody else was doing that. I don't understand why the bands, most of them, weren't doing that. Because I tell you what, again, they didn't know who the hell we were for the first time. Our merch booth and people were swarming, wanting to take pictures with us and whatever they could do for hours. Like we couldn't get out of there. So it came to me that somebody had told me that along the way, and it's true. It really is.
That's an awesome saying. I've never heard that ever.
Yeah,
but you know what? You're 100% right.
Yeah, look, you got to have good songs, and you got to stick with what you do. But like a real simple thing is that it's just life, really. I mean, if people think you're an arrogant, they still may worship the ground you walk on, but who's asking anybody to worship? Like we're here to just like hang with everybody.
Yeah, that's it. We want to party and live life.
Me especially, I'm just a big fan that's lucky to play my drums and get to see the world. And it's a very hard racket to be in, and everybody knows it. But sometimes it takes a lot of luck, no matter how good you are.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
I bet you every person who freaking talked to you at that merch stand that day was like, "Man, I met Killcode, and that's going to sit with them for the rest of their lives."
It's one of the biggest things. It's a really cool thing to see. I can't really describe it. You'd have to live it, and it's pretty wild.
So you said you played in Mexico City, which was a big show. So how many other big shows out of this country have you played, if any?
Oh, I mean, several. I mean, we'll go back up to the Mexico City thing, which is like you wouldn't think it, but Mexico City was probably the biggest crowd we ever played to date. And we played kind of early in the day, but it's called Heaven and Hell Fest, and it's like a 2-3 day thing. That's like 5 stages. We were lucky enough to be on one of the main stages. These are concerts where they have 2 stages or your main stage, and one band's on while they're getting the other one here, and like 50,000 people just shift a little bit to see whichever one. But there's no intermissions. So that show, just looking out there, knowing that we're going out there and playing front, it was surreal. Like people always say to me, "Don't you get nervous when you play?" That's a common question for a lot of people. I mean, it's harder to play in front of 2 or 3 people staring at you in a little room than it is like 50,000 people running around in circles, because it's surreal. Like it doesn't even feel real. So that was a cool adrenaline rush. And the other one we did in Mexico a few months later, where Kiss was on the bill and stuff. I mean, we're literally playing on a stage where the Kiss Army banner's hanging above us in
Wow.
our pictures. Because they had it like side, and it's just that's surreal to me. Like we actually did a show with Kiss. That Mexico City one was like Rammstein, Twisted Sister, and Five Finger Death Punch, Ghost. There was like so many bands. Even Suicidal Tendencies. I met. Dude, you have no idea. That was a crazy experience. Well, but mainly, so those were the two down that way. But like several in Europe, we've been invited back to Germany several times. Haven't been there since the pandemic, but there's 2 festivals that we do there that I love to death. Switzerland, France. I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff right now. Oh, the UK has been very good to us. We're going back there in November as well. So that's pretty cool. But the biggest show for sure was that Mexico City one. It was crazy. And then the other Mexico one was pretty damn big too.
So I'm very clueless when it comes to touring, let's just say. So how do you all get your instruments to location, and how is it paid for? And give us a little, tour experience.
Okay, well, I mean, when you're talking like doing those festival type circuits like I'm talking about, you're flying in and out of those places. You're really not bringing your own gear. I mean, unless you're like a huge band like Korn that's already out there doing the European tour and they're touring, they're pulling their gear around or whatever, you're pretty much what's called backlined. You get your body there, right? Okay. So I got drums that they call it forwarding, like months in advance. Here's my stage plot for the whole band, but this is what the drums are. They'll have a kit sitting there. They have a bunch of stagehands. They're running a festival. So like they got a million, like not a million, but say a good 5 to 10 drum risers that are on rollers, that are on wheels. And they just like when somebody goes on, they start looking just like any other production. They start looking down the road. Okay, Killcode's coming on in 3 sets from now. We got to start getting his kit together. But
it's it's like Build-A-Bear for a drum set.
Kind of. So they'll put everything up on everything that I requested will be on that riser, and assembled, and then I'll go just like while somebody's on stage, I'm backstage tweaking it, setting it up. Right. So in those type of situations, we're not bringing any gear at all. The guys are bringing guitars on the planes and their effects pedals and stuff like that. And I always was like, well, this can't be true. I got to at least bring cymbals. I got to at least bring my snare. I got to at least bring my pedal. And it got to the point where I just putting fucking sticks in my goddamn suitcase and flying out there.
Wow. I've never heard that before. That's amazing.
And I really have had no issues. Europe, I got to honestly tell you, France and Germany especially, like, they take serious like what they're doing technology wise out there.
Yeah.
So the gear is fucking really good. It's set up good. They take pride in like what they do as far as human beings having you settled and whatever. So I mean, I have more nightmares playing little clubs in Manhattan than I do on those huge stages.
So let's elaborate on this, right? I'm curious, what is the average day for a rock star?
It depends. Like a day like when you're not out doing it, or a day when you are out doing it.
Yeah, let's get the Rob Noxious regular normal house day.
It ain't freaking exciting. I'll tell you that. I don't know. I mean, like I get up very early. If possible, I would at least take a walk before I shower and get moving. But so like I still work in an industry that I really like. It's the natural products industry. Being that I used to be an athlete, I don't even know how I fell into this on the side, but I work with a broker firm and I sell all kinds of natural products, whether it be workout products, vitamins, body care, water bottles, anything that's green is in my industry.
Got it.
But I was lucky. I just knew a guy that was, doing well in it and got me into it when I first moved back here. And being that I've been an athlete or whatever, look, there's a million things in this industry that don't work. It's all a lot of it's placebo.
Yeah.
Especially because it's natural, right? The good stuff has something in it, But like, look, I try to watch my weight and I still work out, whatever. So I'm like taking perfect aminos and all kinds of stuff. So I just love this industry, and the guys I work for are great. It's near my house. So Rob Noxious gets up In a perfect world, he'll go take a walk, take a shower, get in a car, come into work, talk to some of my clients that I've known for 10, 15 years and met along the way, which, by the way, this industry is awesome. These people are just like crazier than the damn rock and roll industry, to be honest with you. But my bosses are two really good friends of mine. We've traveled around the world together as well. So that's that. I got, 3 daughters that drive me fucking crazy.
Sure they do.
So all day I'm looking at this, daddy that, and they're not little anymore. They're like, one's in their 20s and 2 of them are in their 20s now. So like, I'm not getting texts like we need diapers. They're getting texts like my car broke down. And like, it's kind of a nightmare, to be quite honest with you. That's why I look forward to finally releasing some new music and going out and supporting it and getting out of here for a while.
Yeah, well, you have some good news, right?
Yeah, I missed my trips. COVID totally did put a damper on things and just put a halt to a lot of stuff that we do. We could have done more, but what's in our wheelhouse, it was too much logistics. All this stuff about flying to Europe and every country having different. It really didn't settle down till around now, and I hope it stays that way. But this is the year we finally get to go back out and do some things.
Awesome. So I got another question for you. What is going to happen with Killcode in 2023? Tell us everything.
Please. Brag. Indulge us.
Okay. Well, I mean, I finally do get to brag.
Please.
Listen, it's been a long, hard COVID shit for Killcode. Like I said, we could have done a lot more things, but we didn't want to spin our wheels. I'll be honest with you. We kind of let everybody we know be guinea pigs to test whether it's the local circuit or the European circuit or whatever, and nothing was working for what we do and where we do well. So we've had an album done for 2 years, and we had a record label that wound up, we're not even working with them because they went out of business because of COVID. But we couldn't release the record because we couldn't go out and support it properly the way Killcode normally does, all the European things and whatever. So we held back. We've already written a whole other thing. But finally, this Friday, January 20th, the long-awaited new Killcode album comes out, along with a video for the song we just did release a couple of weeks ago called Let's Get Back to Rock and Roll. So on Friday morning, not only does our entire album finally get released everywhere, our new video comes out, which is the first video we've made in a long time as well. And we have several videos to shoot to release because, now everything has changed. Like we're going to release the whole album, but we're going to release songs separately, slowly to Spotify and whatnot. But you can literally find this thing anywhere. I do actually have a link to pre-order it. We don't need to get into that right now. It's all over the web, or you just go to killcode.net. And
it'll also be in the description below.
Yeah, and especially go to our go to our YouTube page, the Killcode Band at YouTube or whatnot, and please subscribe to our page because we got 1 million fans and nobody, Yeah. It's a lot less on YouTube for some reason. We just never really pushed it, but that's where everything's going to come from now. Everything, songs even are going to get pumped out through the YouTube page. So
all right, beautiful.
Very exciting for that, and we're finally going back overseas to support it. We got a lot of videos to make and a lot of cool shows coming up.
So what is your new song that you're pushing out in 2 days? What is that about? Let's get back to rock and roll. Like what you felt?
It's exactly about
that's the COVID thing.
It's exactly what we're discussing. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, to really nitpick it, we were in a rehearsal room before COVID one night, and there's some storm blew through. We were somewhere in Hicksville or something. Not only was there nobody else rehearsing at this place that night, but like the power went out. There was no power, and we figured out a way to get things fired up somehow from wherever, like this one outlet or whatever, from cars, this, that, the other thing. And that's what it was really spontaneously written about. Like, you can't stop us. Wow. We're going to fucking plug in and we're going to make music. And it actually really happened. But then as things started to evolve with this whole COVID thing, it started to make sense. That's what the song is about. This is what the video is about. We were able to get a lot of our fans into the video. We would have liked to have gotten everybody in it, but there's only so much time to film it and only a couple of locations. But it is cool because it interacts with a lot of our fans and everybody. Like, it's not so much even about us getting back to rock and roll. It's everybody. It's the world. Everybody. Enough of this crap already.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. See, you didn't tell us about that story, and I got it out of you. You plug it into cars. Freaking, it didn't matter. The music wasn't stopping that night. That's a great story.
Oh yeah, I mean that's literally how the song was written.
Nice.
Or why it was, but it makes sense with everything going on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, what would you tell anyone trying to get into the music business? We ask all the bands this.
Well, I mean, I happen to be I don't do it much anymore, but I mean, I'm a private teacher as well. So I've had this conversation with a lot of my students. Yeah, you got to practice. You got to know your skill and you got to know what you think about. But as far as like this industry, I would just keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to everybody around you. Your last guest made a really, really good, explains it a little better to me, but make your goals, make sure that they're realistic, right? It's a tough business. But at the same time, like, I learned a lot, like, depends where you rehearse. Some people rehearse at home. Some people rehearse in like big studios where there's a bunch of different bands. If there's a band down the hall from you that's playing places that you're not, but you feel is obtainable, what are they doing that you're not doing? And don't be shy to ask. But nowadays you can actually see what are they doing online that I'm not doing? What kind of songs are they writing that we're not doing? What does their show look like that we're not doing? Where are they playing? Why aren't they losing money? Why am I losing money? You don't be embarrassed to. It's not stealing, but like there is no equation to this stuff, and you just got to get up every day and ride the wave, But use your brain as you are,
Well, it's like you said, shake hands with everybody because you know what? You might just meet one person that could change your life.
Yeah, and that would be great.
That
would be great. Mm-hmm. The more, it's like everything comes in increments, and the more people you get personal with, it's gonna reflect.
Yes, yes. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us today. Let's do this.
Remember to hit that like, subscribe button, and tell us down in the comments section below what songs we should listen to and who we should have on the channel. And remember to press the little nice subscribe button to get notified every time we upload a video. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a very fun interview. It seems like you've done your research on us and just on the industry in itself. It's appreciated. I'm Son.
And I'm Father. And you are?
Rob Noxious.
Rock on!
Rock on, baby!